That thought never entered my mind, right? Is Rose Namajunas falling off? Is this her time? Is she not going to be able to deal the same kind of damage as she was doing at 115 now at the higher weight class? She's fighting bigger girls that hit harder, that have more weight against her, and have cut so much more weight that she's having to make up for that differential.
UFC Denver, folks. This slate is filled with short notice bouts. Fighting at elevation, that means it's going to be a little bit tough, a little tricky in order to lock down some of our best bets. But don't worry, we got you taken care of. What we do here at the Bloody Water Podcast is we excel in the uncertainty, because every week that's what you got. So with that being said, my name is Derick G. Welcome back to another episode of the Bloody Water Podcast, and joining me, as always, the Santa Fe bomber, the New Mexico native, AJ. I just said it, uncertainty, that's the play this week right here. Rose Namajunas gets a short notice main event competitor, if you will, in Tracy Cortez. She was slated to fight Macy Barber. I thought there was real implications right there, given that that's a tough test in the flyweight division. Let's see if you're really tailor-made for this upper echelon right here in this division. Now you get Tracy Cortez. Now it seems like everything is flipped, and this is kind of a lose-lose. I want to know straight off the top, elevation, short notice, nothing new for Namajunas, but what does this switch of opponents do for her?
It makes the do for Rose Namajunas right here. It kind of adds a little spice, man. Kind of shows that Rose is able to handle every situation that's thrown at her, no matter where it is or what weight class or who the fighter is and all that. But for Tracy Cortez, this makes this one hell of a long fight, even no matter how long this fight actually goes.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure. I think that's something that we definitely need to just lay out on the table. But of course, folks, this is a well-rounded program right here. So before we jump into the UFC Denver madness, we are going to take a flashback. We're going to take a look back 2 weeks ago. It feels like it's been forever. We got a little bit of record recap. Let's never forget what we do here at the Bloody Water Podcast. We got some shiny belts in back. You could see a couple of mine hanging out in the back. If you look into the, you see AJ guy. Look, he even showing. He's like, I'm going to show y'all this belt. I'm going to let y'all know what's up. But folks, we have a record recap, 64-44. It is a even score right now. If you're new here, throughout the course of the year, every main card fight, we are throwing a pick on there, and whoever has the most accurate record at the end of the year, you get a belt. I got two, AJ has one. He's trying to even the score. I want to be triple D, triple champ. Shout out to Triple Cringe. All right, but as you can see here, we got the Alex Paeta versus Prochazka 2 poster up. Why? Not because we're covering that's old news, but because we're jumping into a bet recap right here. So this is the accountability hour. This is what we do here at the Bloody Water Podcast. And let's go ahead and AJ, let's just kind of break it down right here. There wasn't really anything too crazy. It was a 3-1 across the board, folks. As you can see, there's a white line for Lopez and for Ortega right here. I'm sure you guys were following the news. That fight never happened right there. So shout out Alex Paeta, shout out Ian Gary, 2-1 on the consensus picks right there, which we're just kind of cruise through these things really quickly. AJ, 2-0 on the consensus picks right here. What do you make of it? We hit on here. The main thing that I got is not the Pereira pick. A lot of people, a lot of hype for MVP. We cashed in on Ian Gary. People are still mad about it, so we don't even feel like we got a one. But how did you feel about nailing that pick?
Man, I felt great about it, Derek. It's basically exactly like we were calling it to go, man. We seeing how the night performed, seeing how the night ended, made me just that much more satisfied with how the night how the outcomes were, because of what we were saying in the pre-show, man. This is exactly how Ian Gary's going to be performing, and same thing with Alex Paeta, of course. But this is the future, man. The time is now. I'm happy with the consensus picks, and folks, as always, we're making it cash. Look at this, 2-0 on consensus. We got more consensus coming up. It's going to be fire.
That's right. Now, AJ, we got to take a step back, though, brother, because, again, if we got to eat a little bit of crow, we're more than happy to do it. Let me talk about mine first, man. Bueno Silva versus Chasson. Now, you hit on the Chasson pick, just pure right there, so I got to give you props. But it was a fight that I felt like Bueno Silva wasn't particularly losing, and then the fight got stopped due to a nasty cut, which, hey, listen, a cut is a cut. She dropped the elbow. It was what it was. I just feel like you run this simulation 10 times. I feel like we had this one in the bag, but that's neither here nor there. I'll take the L. Swanson and Feely, under 2.5 rounds. I like what you were thinking, but talk to the people about how it played out.
The mind was right, got close sometimes, man, but what are you gonna do when guys are dogs in there, and they actually just put in a hell of an effort. I was very excited. I thought this one was gonna hit for you folks. Minus 135, missed on it. What can you say?
That's what I was gonna say. You look at the odds makers, they were right there with you. It was minus money for the under, but we couldn't get the finish we looked for. And to wrap it up with the parlay, it's just red. That's all that we see right here. Talbot versus Gamori over 1.5 rounds. Who knew that he was just gonna one hitter quitter the dude right there? Like, Gamori Mori legitimately has the ability to make a fight last, drag it on a little bit, but I have no excuses because Ricky Simón might not be the fighter that we thought he once was at this day and age against the slate of opposition that we're seeing currently. Ortega money line, that didn't quite happen. That doesn't count. That's a wash right there. But the Smith money line, talk to him.
The rough one. This one I feel bad about, man. I have so much hype for Alex Smith, or Alex Smith, right? Anthony Smith. There you go. Thank you, Derek. Blinking over here. So much faith in Anthony Smith going in, Lionheart going into a fight, and when you have a performance like that, there must have been something else with the weight cut, the short notice, all this one. This one's my bad on this week.
I think it's short notice, dude. You know, it was a tall task, right? It was a tall task in and of itself, tall task on short notice. But shout out to Lionheart. All right, folks, that's your UFC 303 recap right there. That was our accountability hour. Now we forget about the glory and the distaste in our mouth of the past, and we move on to the future for the TLDR. This is the music. Cue the music, people. What are we talking about? UFC Denver, Elevation. I'm hyped up. Let's get it. We back in these towns. We doing a thing, and we got a bet sheet right here for you. So, AJ, this is just kind of the overall bet sheet. Folks, do what you will with this. Take your screenshot. This is 6 main card picks, and I'm going to kind of let the cat out the bag, but we only have one differing pick. So that means a lot of consensus right here. AJ, I'm going to list off the names of them, even though the folks could see it here, but if you're only listening, I want you, AJ, to give me the theme right after. So, Doug Rose Namajunas, Santiago Ponzinibbio, John Silva, apologies, my man. We all gonna remember your name here shortly. You're already making some waves. Gabriel Bonfim and Abdul Razak Alhassan. What is the theme for the UFC Denver consensus picks here today?
This week, Derek, it's dominate, man. Whether they're just beating the brakes off somebody or class acting them, putting a point master on them, gonna dominate the fight. I see all 5 of these fighters doing that this week.
Right on, fair play. All right, let's get on to where the true money is made. And that's here in some props right here. All right, AJ, I got to bring it up. I'm going to bring it up a bunch of times. We are fighting at elevation, people. If we're looking at the amount of bouts that we have on this slate, and we're looking at the amount of short notice just put together bouts, you got a lot of them. It's about half of these bouts are all short notice. We're gonna see people gas out. We're gonna see sloppy fights, but that's what we're here for. You'll notice there's no fights over 185 pounds on this entire card. That is strategic. I got Ponzinibbio by decision. He's gonna be fighting Muslim Salikhov, who we love, the Kung Fu master, whatever the case may be, but my man is 40 years old, fighting at elevation. I think that Salikhov gasses out before Ponzinibbio, given that Salikhov is much more predicated on spinning attacks, a little bit of grappling, all that stuff. I think Ponz just outpoints him for 15 minutes. AJ, talk to him.
I like yours, Derek. I'm rocking with Bonfim versus Loosa, going the over 1.5. Something crazy, man. Unless Bonfim just absolutely runs through Angelosa right here, we're hitting the over on this. Angelosa, he hasn't had a fight that didn't go to decision since 2016. He's a hell of a guy to take down, hell of a guy to beat up. But if Bonfim can get it done, I'm going to be shocked. I like the over 1.5.
Let's go ahead and let's jump into the parlays. The parlay boys, we are back. I'm going to go ahead and kick us off with the first one. Rose Namajunas versus Tracy Cortez over 3.5 rounds. We're going to couple that with Abdul Razak Alhassan versus Cody Brundage. All we need to do, folks, is enter round 2. I think that the second half is going to be a little more tricky than the first half, but like I said, plus 127. If you combine them together, I see nothing but value here. Let's cash this one in and take it to the bank. AJ, what's the second parlay that we got?
Second parlay we're rocking with is Maria Agapova versus Luana Santos over 1.5. Really banking on Agapova's durability right here, man. And then partnering that up with Muslim Salikhov versus Santiago Ponzinibbio over 1.5. I got a theme this week. We got the over 1.5s going for this parlay right here. And as long with this one, 40-year-old Salikhov versus a 37-year-old Ponzinibbio, I'm expecting them to get a little tired. I'm expecting this fight to go long. I'm pairing that plus 116 is going to make us money this weekend.
All right, fair play, folks. You got it. Those are the plays. So we gave you main card picks. We gave you props. We gave you parlays. And hey, guess what? You stick around a little bit longer, you're going to get some additional plays as well. So without any further ado, AJ, you know what time it is. It's time to break down the main card. Let's get it.
Here's to another main card breakdown, courtesy of your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
All right, folks, if you are new here, what we're going to take care of is simply going through the main card bouts. We're starting with the most important, the main event, working our way down all 6 bouts to the opening bout of the main card. So if you stick around, we're going to get additional plays. We're going to give you some insights. We're going to do a prelim pour over. And more important, we're going to hit a news wire, a little video plays and all that good stuff, folks. So Let's jump straight into it. AJ, Thug Rose, like I said, short notice against Tracy Cortez. So this went from being a prove it, let's see where you belong in the flyweight division against the upcoming Macy Barber, who's proven to be a real contender. Now you got another contender, just kind of in a different sense. Tracy Cortez, right? She's flashy. She could wrestle. She's got good hands, and we don't see her fight too often. But when she does fight, it seems to be a big deal. It seems like the company wants to move her. The machine wants to move her. This is a win-win for Tracy Cortez. Win or lose, right? You get a massive opportunity. My question here is, you can't look at this in a vacuum. You can't look at this and say, oh, this is just purely a matchup, right? Instead, the way that you probably should look at it is say, Tracy Cortez, with all of her skills, youth, and vigor, is taking this fight on short notice. If I'm being very approximate, this is like 18 days notice, AJ. This is less than 3 weeks notice, and you're fighting at elevation. She has infamously said, I acclimated to the Denver acclimation, the altitude. I've acclimated in 2 days. AJ, fair or foul? Give me your take on the fight.
Foul, absolutely foul. I'm from around the same elevation as what Denver is, mile high in Santa Fe, New Mexico, right up there in the mountains. And the elevation is key, man. It'll drag you. You go play down, whatever sport it is, you go down to sea level. You're a lot faster. You can breathe better. Those guys come up to the hood. Yes, it is an absolute, you have to get acclimated to it, man. And it takes about a week. A lot of people, week and a half out there. There's a lot of fighters that go down when they need to acclimate to those kind of areas. They'll get down there 2-3 weeks in advance, just so that way they're already acclimated and still have a week to recover and to train and get used to it. 2 days sounds like a lot of media, a lot of, what do we say, Derek? A lot of the narrative.
Yes, it is a fantastic story, right? But I think it's going to be a sloppy fight either way that it goes, man. The big question that I have for you is, we've seen Rose Namajunas, and we know she's skilled. We know footwork is impeccable, former champion, but you cannot rest on your laurels and you can't live off of your past glories, right? A lot of people are saying, and I don't want to say that this is me saying it because I'm not. I'm just relaying the public's opinion. Shout out to the Twitter sphere, right? The people have spoken. And the people are saying that Rose Namajunas no longer has the hunger that it takes to become a world champion at 125 pounds. You've already done it. You've climbed the hill twice, 2-time champion. Do you still have that same drive and that same hunger? The question that I'm pointing to you here, AJ, is that, do you believe in that, or do you think that she's just at a new weight class with bigger, stronger opposition, and maybe the skill set that she had at 115 won't translate to the same effect at 125? What is the ceiling for Rose Namajunas here, and what does this matchup look like with the physicality of Tracy Cortez?
That's a good question, Derek, because that thought never entered my mind, right? Is Rose Namajunas falling off? Is this her time? Is she not going to be able to deal the same kind of damage as she was doing at 115 now at the higher weight class? I didn't think that was the case, but I can see where people have that thought, especially with and I forget if the Amanda Ribas fight was at 125, but just with the performance alone, right? With the way she has different performances versus like a Weili Zhang or a Carla Esparza, even though she lost the fight, Jessica Andrade, like there's a bunch of fights where we've seen Rose have this spark to her, have this grit, have this determination. If you look at the last fight with Amanda Ribas, she was kind of just staying calm, staying cool, just throwing ones and twos, and not really much else. Like I can see the argument of why people are saying that, but I don't think that's the case. I think this has a lot much more to do with the fact that she's fighting bigger girls that hit harder, that have more weight against her, and have cut so much more weight that she's having to make up for that differential. It just seems like a lot more. So where's the ceiling? It's Derek, I'd love to see, another champ in Thug Rose. Something tells me, man, I don't know if we're going to see that. I think we're going to see a top 5, maybe performance, get up in there, and then kind of stagger out. Because if you look at it, there's not a lot of people, especially the UFC-wise, that are pushing Thug Rose again. I mean, this could be the fight that's going to do it, but against a contestant like Tracy Cortez, I don't think that's going to be the case.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a lot of fair points, right? If she cements a championship at 125 pounds, you could say walk off into the sunset. You have a Hall of Fame career, but you got to get past Tracy Cortez first in order to do that. And that's where the question comes in for me of, you saw the difference against Rose versus Manon Fiorot, right? Fiorot won the fight. Some would say it was a close fight where Rose could have won the fight. She was just a little behind on the cards, of course. But Tracy Cortez, she's big, man. She's strong, and she has good power, and she has good hands, right? But the thing that translates a little bit better for Rose Namajunas is going to be the speed, the footwork, the movement. Not so much the durability, but more than anything else, I would say it's just the craftiness of being a veteran in the game. I think Tracy Cortez, though, man, depending on what she could put on here at elevation, is wrestling, which I thought was a big X factor in all of the best ways in this matchup. Can that be effective here at elevation on short notice? Because, again, this isn't a vacuum fight. This is a very circumstantial fight.
I don't think the wrestling will be that effective unless Cortez is able to get to it early and get to it often and just continuously keep Rose on her back. I don't think it's going to be effective because of how elusive Rose Namajunas is of a fighter and how good her footwork is. I don't think Tracy Cortez is going to be able to, especially in the later rounds, once this gets tired, be able to grab Rose Namajunas and get her to the ground. My big thing, Tracy Cortez says that Rose Namajunas has never fought an opponent like Tracy Cortez. And there's arguments for that sake, especially in this weight class, right? She's never fought her. But, I mean, Weili Zhang, there's some fighters right there. I think it's the other way around, that Tracy Cortez is now in the situation presented to herself with all the opportunity in the world, great opportunity, but having on a short notice with a wrestling style going for a power style fight, I just don't see that short notice being such a pro in this one.
Yeah, I think Tracy Cortez needs to get a little bit more on her chops before she could make that argument of, you ain't never saw nobody like me. You know, her last fight against Jasmine Jasvidicius, she looked awesome there, but Rose is an evasive fighter who picks her shots and kind of calculates footwork a lot better than Jasvidicius, who is much more of a zombie, walk you down and just take the big shots. So, in essence, I think that Rose Namajunas, similar to the Amanda Ribas fights, can kind of just skate around, man. And I think that she could win this fight on points, box her up, avoid the takedowns, and just kind of do what you do at elevation, man. You know what I mean? However, AJ, there's money to be made in this matchup here, and we need to actually jump into the numbers. So let's not waste any more time on that. If you take a look at what the current odds are right now, they're similar, but they're not quite what you see here. These are opening odds. Minus 200 for Namajunas, plus 165 for Cortez. Minus 235 now for Thug Rose, plus 190 for Cortez. So definitely leaning in favor of Rose. Here's the interesting part. Minus 105 for the decision. Well, not a ton of value right there. I like it. Don't get me wrong, right? But I think that there's much more value to be made throwing this fight into a parlay than just betting the house on one or the other right here. Now, when it comes down to other paths of victory, be real with me, man, because there's some people who are calling knockouts on either individual side right here. Can you see a finish coming out of this fight? Again, take elevation into account, take fatigue into account come rounds 3, 4, and 5.
I do, Derek, and I'm actually looking at that submission plus 800. The later this fight goes, if Tracy Cortez continues to try to get this fight to the ground, I can see Thug Rose pulling something, right, switching around, getting a submission right here. I can see that happening. What about you? Do you see a TKO for either fighter happening?
It's tough, man. The only one that I could see is one fighter's purely exhausted and you get him to the ground and pound type situation. I can't see a flush TKO happening from either fighters. I'm not saying that they don't have power. We've seen both of these fighters legit have power. I just don't know if it's going to be that kind of brawl em up matchup. Also, Tracy Cortez, man, I'm not familiar with what Tracy Cortez looks like over the course of 5 rounds. You know, so I'm not trying to, because I know how this sounds, right? This sounds like, oh, they're all on Thug Rose, man. They're giving Tracy Cortez no shot. I don't even feel that. I just think that if this is a short notice opportunity, you kind of see a more prepared fighter in Thug Rose right here. But again, do I see a TKO? I can see an exhaustion TKO, but let me talk to you about the submission really quickly. Neither of these fighters have had a submission victory legitimately on both ends for like 7 years, like respectively, right? So I can kind of see where you're playing there. I think Cortez, though, I think she might be able to mitigate some of the submission stuff with her wrestling, and I think that Thug Rose could use her jiu-jitsu to actually get the fight back up to the feet. So I don't see too much engagement right there, and that's why I do think that this fight ends up kind of being more of a, I'm going to skate around, and Cortez is going to land the big shots, look for the clinch. Rose is going to look for the pop, 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 and just do that for 25 straight minutes right there. So that's my assessment on the fight. Are you seeing it any different than that?
No, I agree with you. That is way more likely the outcome. All I'm thinking for that plus 800 submission. Yeah. Somebody gets tired. We're going right there. Lazy shot. Next thing you know, Rose has a neck. We've seen it happen to a bunch of fighters, and especially when you get exhausted, I could see that submission happening. But more than likely, I like, especially the one you're parlaying this with, man, the over in this fight. Put that on some money because that's cash all day long.
Bro, 4.5 rounds is like the big over if you're looking for that one. Minus 280 for over 4.5 rounds right there, which I thought wasn't nearly as crazy as it should be. If minus 105 is the prop for Rose by decision and minus 280 is over 4.5 rounds, there's something that's not adding up there. That's why I opted for the 3.5 rounds instead to bridge that gap, you know, in terms of providing the value and mitigating some of the risk. So I like Rose Namajunas here. We both like Rose Namajunas. This is a consensus pick right here. I honestly think Tracy Cortez could make this so competitive if this was a full training camp under different circumstances, but we're rolling with the former champ, Thug Rose, to get another one done at 125. And AJ, unless you got anything else to add on there, we jump in to the co-main event, baby. Let's get it. All right. For sure. Not a star-studded card in terms of name value, but we got some banging matchups right here. And you got Santiago Ponzinibbio versus Muslim Salikhov. Minus 105 was the open for Ponzinibbio, plus 125 comeback here for Salikhov. You look at the current odds right now, we're taking a look at minus 195 for Salikhov, plus 195 for Ponzinibbio, plus 165 for Salikhov. I feel you, because it would be like, oh, where did that line flip come from? We're still heavy on Ponzinibbio, and I think that this is a very simple matchup right here. So my question to you, AJ, given that this is one of the few bouts on the card that is the pure original matchup, this is the fight that was supposed to take place. Muslim Salikhov coming off of 2 losses in a row, Nicholas Dalby, Randy Brown, not bad losses at all. Salikhov coming off that knockout loss against Kevin Holland. Both of these fighters need a victory badly. I just feel like Salikhov needs a victory worse than Ponzinibbio does, man. And this might force him to change up the game plan a little bit. Can a traditional Muslim Salikhov game plan work against Ponzinibbio, given that it's low volume, big, fancy striking techniques, and then a little bit of grappling? Again, elevation fight, 40 years old. I don't like it. What do you think?
I don't like it, Derek. I don't like it, but I mean, at this point, what else is Muslim Salikhov gonna do, right? Like, is the point style fighting karate? You're like a Stephen Wonderboy Thompson style, right? Can Salikhov emulate that and able to keep Ponzinibbio at bay? Because Ponzinibbio is gonna just walk him down, try to beat him up the entire time, and especially with how animated or not eccentric, but like exuberant that Ponzinibbio is. He comes in with a lot of energy. Sure, we've seen him get gassed before, but when he comes in, he provides a lot of power. He has a high fight IQ. So I can see this one being a very interesting match, in the fact that they're going to be trying to figure each other out, right? Chess match right here as the fight gets going. But then as it picks up, we're going to see who's actually the hammer and who's the nail going into this one. I think Ponzinibbio, with his pressure, is going to be able to mitigate that distance management that Salikhov needs to have to be able to win.
1.5 rounds, over or under?
Over. I think that's my prop lock. No,
that's right.
Parlay, throwing that one in a parlay.
So the odds makers would agree with you right there, right? Minus 220 is the over for 1.5 rounds here, which again, things get a little complicated, because if I see an early finish, I actually see it Salikhov knocking out Ponzinibbio, right? If that's the early finish. So would you agree that the fight here really is kind of, it's not the same, but it's kind of similar to Ponzinibbio versus Holland, where Ponzinibbio can outpoint him, right, throughout 15 minutes. But if Salikhov lands the big shot, I mean, you could spark him. Holland sparked him the same exact way, right? It was a punching, it was, boxing, rather than it was like a spinning wheel kick or something like that. But I just think it's low volume on Salikhov, higher volume on Ponzinibbio. If I'm taking a look at my sheet right now and I'm looking at the significant strikes landed per minute, it's almost 5 for Ponzinibbio. It's about 3.5 for Salikhov. So with that being said, man, I really see that this being Ponzinibbio's fight to lose more than anything else. And one that I really, really like, this is why it's my prop lock, is plus 185 Ponzinibbio by decision. I really, really enjoy that. That goes hand in hand with your parlay that throws that over 1.5 rounds right there. But in what world do you see Salikhov squeaking out a decision here?
Squeezing out a decision, man, I don't. Unless Salikhov, the only way I could possibly see thinking about it now, Derek, is Salikhov maintaining range, keeping like a teep kick going, and just keeping Ponzinibbio at bay. Maybe a couple 1-2s and then dip on out, cut the corner. But other than that, besides a flashy KO knock in the beginning, I don't really see Salikhov having the kind of effect and outcome that's going to drive him to have a decision. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, it doesn't make sense to me with the kind of fight styles that these two are coming into the fight with.
I couldn't agree more. And if you also look at Ponzinibbio, he doesn't look fantastic, right? If you're looking at the last 5, if you're looking at the last 6, yeah, you're 2-4 in your last 6, but 2 of those losses were split decision losses, right? Against Jeff Neal and Micho Paeta. So if those were reversed, he'd be looking a lot better. The line would be looking a lot heavier, which is why I truly think you got 2 plays here. Again, plus 185 decision prop for Santiago Ponzinibbio, cash that. Or you want to go heavy in right now, this is a price I'm willing to pay legitimately right here. If we're looking at minus 195 for Ponzinibbio, pure money line, I think that's more than a fair price to pay. What do you think?
I think it's a more than a fair price, especially with how these fighters have had their last couple of fights going. Yeah, I mean, the Kevin Holland KO, it is what it is, but all the other fights that we've seen Ponzinibbio perform, he shows up. Where Salikhov, especially in that Randy Brown fight, man, he just doesn't look like he's there as good as he used to be. I think if Ponzinibbio is able to get this fight done quickly, man, we're going to see his numbers jumping up to that like 250, 300 range here soon.
And still at, 37 years old right there. So this is going to be a fun matchup. Shout out to the co-main event, but another consensus pick, Santiago Ponzinibbio, moving right on along. Short notice bout right here. All right, AJ, Drew Dober. He said, I'm itching to fight. I want a knockout record. I want whatever you're going to give me. Well, I gave him John Silva, and this is an interesting matchup. So for the uninitiated, John Silva just fought like 2 weeks ago, right? On the last card that we just broke down, he fought Charles Jourdain in a fight that I actually picked Jourdain to win this fight because I thought you fight Jourdain, you're entering the next level. He made it look easy, man. You went from Weston Wilson, right? You remember, that was one of your sleepers. Yep. You went from him, you knocked him silly, knocked him unconscious. Then you went to Charles Air Jourdain and knocked him silly too. Well, what was the one part, AJ, where he kind of screwed up? He didn't make weight, right? This was a big no-no, super unprofessional. I think what he's doing here is he's making one up to the boss man and saying, all right, listen, I missed weight. I know I delivered with a fantastic knockout. I'll go up to the next weight class and I'll save it. I'll save this card and I'll do it on short notice. I'll be a company man. Here's where the danger lies, right? Drew Dober is a scary guy. When it comes to pure striking, this is the mega Chad. This is the Giga Chad right here. This is the undominable chin that can take a million shots and he can give it too. So this is an interesting fight because, AJ, what I want to do here is I want to bring up the big screen and I want to just take a look. You think Drew Dober, you think massive. You think about his back, right? Just massive back, big hooks, right? And if you look, and I'm like, John Silva looks small. He looks small against Jourdain. He looks small against Wilson. And then you look here and you're like, wait, they got like the same reach. They're like the same height, unless, heights can be deceiving, right? Like who knows if that's the actual listed height. But it seems to me that in real life, John Silva looks so much smaller than Drew Dober. And I think that he's still going to look smaller given just like the stackedness of Drew Dober and the weight that he cuts or whatnot. But is it a little alarming to you that they have such a similar stature, if you will?
It's interesting, Derek. I mean, it makes sense why John Silva didn't make weight in his last fight, because if you're the same stature as Drew Dober, man, yeah, no, and Dober is stacked, like you said, Giga Chad all day long. It's interesting though, because when you were talking about it, I was thinking back to the Charles Jourdain fight that John Silva just had, and you're right, he did look smaller. And even when I think of Jourdain, I think of kind of a skinnier flyer, like wiry kind of a fighter. And John Silva is going to come in looking smaller than that against Dober, man. This is going to be an interesting way to see how much of a disparity it actually is.
And that's why on one hand, man, when I was originally looking at this, I wasn't all over John Silva, right? I was like, oh, man, again, short notice. Like, I love it on a full camp, right? But short notice, elevation. Are you going to have enough in the tank to be able to actually get this done? It's not like it's a full training camp, but you just fought, so you just came off of a full training camp, but you missed weight. As you could see, folks, this is where the uncertainty lies. But we thrive in uncertainty because Drew Dober, the other thing you got to look at, he's 35 years old, fighting at 155 pounds. AJ, track record for 170 pounds and below. Of course, granted, these are in championship fights, but it's incredibly low if you're aged 34 and above or something like that. So I think that we're onto something really special here with the fighting nerds, but more specifically with John Silva. I think this dude is legit. He's been a sleeper of ours multiple times. Now he's exiting sleeper territory, and you have to know who this guy is. And I think the key is, man, he crushes space. This is what you watch the entire fight. He just crushes you. Imagine this is the octagon wall, right? He just crushes you back there until he can dictate the range and the timing, and he can set up his offense. And he'll make you fight slow, AJ. If you look at the significant strikes for Drew Dober, it's I don't know, John Silva, it's almost 6. I feel like that's not right. But for Drew Dober, it's, about 4.5. But I feel like John Silva fights slow and makes you fight at his pace. How can Drew Dober, who is fantastic offensively, how can he make it to where he's pushing Silva to the back of the cage and he's dictating the pace? Because if he doesn't do it, I think it can get ugly. What do you think?
I agree with you, Derek. And the only way that Drew Dober is going to be able to do that, I guess there's 2 ways. One way, hit him with the bomb, make him respect you. Way number 2, take everything he can on that giant chin he has and just eat it and keep looking at him and keep walking him down. That'll make a man like John Silva that's used to walking people down, closing and crushing that pressure. It'll make him back up a little bit. It'll make him think twice going into that. And especially if you can land your own crack on him, that's going to be able to provide Drew Dober with the space he needs to do what he's best at. Keep the power in his hands, be durable, make it a brawl, and be unconventional in there when you're doing it. Because when Drew Dober's on his game, man, he is devastating. The problem is he's not always on his game, though.
What do you make of the opening odds right here? Is this just tell me, do you respect the line or do you think it should be different?
No, I respect this line. Drew Dober's an established 155er, not obviously not the upper echelon. We're not talking crazy names, but I respect Drew Dober. I honestly, Derek, I expect it to be like a minus 200, to be honest.
Okay, fair enough. Well, you're going to be a little surprised about the live odd right here because John Silva is a minus 115 favorite with a minus 105 comeback for Drew Dober. So a line flip of flips if I have seen one, which makes me a little disheartened, to be honest, man, because it makes me think my mind, our mind, because this is a consensus pick, it's in the right direction. But when there's so much money coming in on him, I'm like, not everybody could be as sharp, right? Because if you're thinking about the masses, that's when we have to start worrying a little bit. Maybe the play is Drew Dober, but we can't overthink ourselves. What we have to do is say, path to victory. For Drew Dober, it's the knockout, right? I mean, I have a hard time seeing really any other path to victory other than you got to get the man out of there. We saw in his last fight against Renato Moicano, who was very durable, right? We love Money Moicano, but Drew Dober got taken down like at will, right? John Silva, his grappling is phenomenal, like legitimately, you know what I mean? So when you are in the same camp as the Caio Barralhos and things of that nature, right, and you got those types of guys, that's your opposition, I think that if he can mix in the grappling, this is an easy money call. But then AJ, short notice, 9 days in elevation in Denver. I'm like, shoot, man, can he? What does he look like at 1.5 rounds deep? What do either of these fighters look like? They say Drew Dober's been training at elevation. I don't know if it's true or not. I should have did my homework, but it makes me a little disheartened. So I'm still on Silva here. I like all the paths to victory. I like the price tag, even minus 115. I think I actually bet on him at minus 105 before he became the favorite because I thought that was just fair, even money. But if we want to make the people real money, we want to make them, break the bank type money right here. What is the prop play here, my friend? What do you see here that stands out to you?
The biggest one right off the bat, I mean, he's done it in his last 2 fights. John Silva TKO plus 215. It's not more than likely, right? Obviously, a knockout's pretty hard to get, especially against Drew Dober, and I give him a lot of credit for Dober's durability. But if that's going to be the play, the one thing I like about John Silva is he's able to set up his traps. Like Derek was saying, as he's crushing that pressure on you, crushing that space, he's able to also set up traps and have you worried about strikes that aren't actually coming and then hit you with another bomb. I can see the TKO right there. I also like the decision. I don't know about the submission, Derek. I'm not too sure on it. It's the biggest prop on the board right there for John Silva. But again, short notice, trying to get this thing wrestling, trying to get them grounded. It does take a lot of energy out of you. I expect this one to be a lot more of a stand-up fight. I don't know. What do you think, Derek? Is there one that's really calling your name to make some cash?
Plus 215 TKO. Yes, sir. You just look at John Silva's record and you say he's knocking everybody out. And it's pretty much all coming in the first round, right? Which, again, scares me because I think that this is a kill-or-be-killed fight. Somebody's getting knocked out in this fight. I do not think this one lasts. This is bound to be fireworks. So the big question here, 1.5 rounds, over or under?
Ooh. I like the under, Derek.
And that's
I feel like this card's a full thing of overs, but I'm going with the under on this one. What is it?
That's where the cash is at. It's at, I think, minus 125 for the under 1.5 rounds right there. Yep, minus 125, minus 105 for the over. Now, I have to say, I think that this could definitely, this is another one that I would bet if available, enters round 2. But that's it. That's as far as I'm willing to go on that one. Just like we might get into round 2 and then it might be over right there, right? But it could all be over in one round either way. So we like John Silva right here. I'm not going to sit here and say that Drew Dober doesn't have a real fighting chance because he absolutely does. He's the established 155er and he needs to hold his spot here in the division. But he's 35 years old, again, fighting at elevation, doing the whole 9. So short notice, no problem. We're going John Silva. All right, moving right on along here, AJ, Gabriel Bonfim versus Loosa. So you went from being the 15-0 boogeyman of the welterweight division, the Bonfim Bros, to a lot of steam taken off by Nicholas Dalby. And a lot of people are saying Loosa is the guy who could repeat the Nick Dalby game plan because that game plan was very effectively take Bonfim's best shots for about 5 minutes, maybe 4 minutes or so, right? And then just turn on the pressure, turn on the gas, right? And see, hey, can you handle the heat? Can you sit here and can you cook while I'm putting this pressure on you? The answer to that, inevitably, AJ, was absolutely not. Dalby finished him in pretty impressive fashion. But Loosa, a little bit of a character, right? And I think that it's important that we jump into, it's not a news and notes, but it's kind of a news and notes. This was following the Brian Battle Loosa fight. Context, there was an eye poke. Loosa could no longer fight. Right, he was ineligible to fight. He said, I can't do it. Brian Battle's a little bit upset. Changing barbs. So real quick pause, right? This is AJ Loosa, who minutes earlier was like, I can't fight. My eyeball, it's a wrap, bro. What do you want me to do? And now eyeballs both open, pointing at him, death threats like, yo, I'm gonna, we can't even say it. Don't even say it, AJ, so we don't get demonetized or whatever the case may be, right? So our video doesn't get pulled, but... And then he gives him the interview after. So look, that eyeball looking real open. I'm just saying, you know what I mean? But now that's the essence of the clip right there. You have to understand that was the last fight that took place for AJ Loosa, right? No contest is what it was ruled. He's fighting another guy who's got a chip on his shoulder, given that he just got knocked out. It was the undefeated fighter, so it's going to be a make or break. So we got two fighters who seem a little mentally not in the greatest place and looking to get one back. Now, when you've got double chip shoulders right here fighting each other right there, what is the key to victory? What's the essence that you got to look for to get an edge? Is it taking a look at the odds and saying, oh, this guy who just got knocked out is a minus 430 favorite over me? Are you kidding me? What do you think here, AJ?
I honestly, Derick, I think you don't look at those odds if you're looking to place a bet right here, because as much as Bonfim is the favorite, I do think there's a lot of hype, a lot of attention that's going towards Bonfim. We've seen the media and the system that is the UFC really push those narratives we're going for. And don't get me wrong, Bonfim's an absolute star, but we've seen what happens when the star is not able to perform the way he does. So for either of these fighters, the best way for them to be able to get a victory or dominate or actually get back to where they need to be, right, with chipless shoulders over here, is to perform at their best, specifically for how they do it, right? Bonfim needs to take off at the beginning, put it to AJ Loosa, get the fight going, get it done, get it out of here. AJ Loosa needs to stick to that same aspect we were saying before. Be durable, bank on yourself, and then put the power on him after that. Let Bonfim crumble under the weight he can't support after those 5 minutes, and then get to work. Either way, I mean, it's going to be hard because it's going to be that we said it all the time, right? The fighter that's in the flow state, I really think that's going to be the fighter that wins this night. Either way, they both have options to do it. It's just who's going to be the one that actually does.
I think that was a super fair assessment through and through of what this matchup is going to look like right here. I don't really have much to add. So what I would like to just inform you, if you didn't know already, these are the opening odds, of course. You look at the current odd right now. We are looking at minus 340 for Bonfim, plus 260 for AJ Loosa. So it's pretty similar, man. It's heavily favored for Bonfim. The question becomes this: what do we think about minus 110 submission prop for Bonfim? Loosa's going to try to wrestle. We know this. Bonfim's probably a better wrestler if I had to estimate. I just think he has a worse gas tank. Where does that submission come into play? Do we see the Gilly special from Bonfim?
That was exactly what I was thinking, Derick. The pressure gets putting on AJ Loosa, shoots something. We see a Gilly come out. I'm not certain that's going to happen. I'm thinking it's like a 3 out of 10 chance, right? 30% right here. I'm looking at the numbers. AJ Loosa in his last 10 fights hasn't been finished by submission. And a lot of his fights, I mean, I said it before, it hasn't had a non-decision fight since 2016. So AJ Loosa is very, very hard to put away.
Is this a dog or pass fight?
Kind of, Derick. I mean, the hard part though is we just saw Bonfim lose a fight, so he can lose. He's beatable, and yeah. Arguably Loosa has the style and the technique and everything to beat him. So I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I don't think AJ Loosa is Nick Dalby. So I'm going to go Bonfim here just because I respect Nick Dalby to just a different level than I think a lot of people do. Just from I've been wrong about him so many times. Like, he's proven me wrong. AJ Loosa has not done so yet. And with the antics that we just broke down that we saw, clearly, and listen, all respect to the fighters, but when there's a path out and you take the path out and then like you're ready to fight right after you already took that path out, I'm going with the guy who hasn't shown me that yet. But then again, Bonfim crumbled under the pressure too. I don't know. It's a tough one. Stay away from this one for me, folks, but we have to give a pick here given we're running a competition. Bonfim, that's the play right here. He's the heavy favorite. And again, folks, I would stay away from this one. So I'm not going to dive into any of the other props or anything like that, but take that for what it's worth. And AJ, let's keep it pushing. We've got a couple more bouts that we need to cover. Julian Juicy J Erosa coming off of a nasty submission victory, man, over a submission specialist himself. And now he gets C-Rod. He gets Christian Rodriguez, who finally makes the jump, man. Featherweight, 145 pounds. Again, another situation of missed weight. Now you got to go up. Now here's the scary part. You see the opening odds. Everybody all week, all I've been saying is lock of the week, Christian Rodriguez. He's going to run it up. Like Julian Erosa has completely been counted out, which I could see why you say that given the skill set of Rodriguez, but I think there's more to this. So minus 170 was the open for Rodriguez, plus 140 for Erosa on the comeback. Looking at the numbers now, looking deeper, man. Minus 225 for Rodriguez, plus 185 for Julian Erosa. And my question to you is, let's just talk about those odds right here. We know Erosa's been suffering some chin issues, right? Not the most durable guy, but we've seen the same thing for Christian Rodriguez. What I think that I've seen more for Christian Rodriguez is a little more heart, a little more durability, and a little more will to win, albeit doing it against guys that you missed weight in, that you have a natural advantage in that fight. So give me your take on these opening odds. Do you think that Christian Rodriguez in a new weight class deserves to be this heavy of a favorite?
No, Derek, not at all. Would I have made him the favorite? Yes, but I expected to be a lot closer to like a 105, 115, kind of in that area. Because don't get me wrong, I like Christian Rodriguez. I'm rooting for him in this fight. I actually expected Erosa to have the better number going into this one, because just on the background of what he's done, yes, has he been chinny? 100%. But have we seen Julian Juicy J Erosa perform in moments when people counted him out? All the time, like, man, even especially with the Ricardo Ramos fight, like you're saying, right? Goes against there. And then another one that sort of was the Jourdain fight, right? He's able to put himself in these situations where he can win. And with an up and comer like Christian Rodriguez in a new weight class, I'm expecting that same kind of outcome, or output, I should say, where Julian Erosa is going to go in there with a couple different moves that he has up his sleeves. Christian Rodriguez is going to have to find a way to navigate that and stick to what he does best. Because, I mean, you tell me, Derek, was Rodriguez's gas tank a little exposed in his last fight, or was this something off?
No, yeah, absolutely. And I have to correct myself because I'm over here talking about a new weight class. His last fight was at featherweight against Isaac Dolgarian. And that was a fight that a lot of people thought that Dolgarian got robbed on. You know what I mean? Because Dolgarian, his gas tank waned too. So it was really more of Christian Rodriguez. Yeah, they both got tired, right? But I think Rodriguez knows how to kind of will his way through these, even though he gets tired as well. I just think that, again, another situation here. You're fighting at elevation. You're fighting a guy in Julian Erosa who has a massive height and reach advantage over you. If you're looking at the height, 6'1" to 5'7", reach 74 inches to 71 inches for Rodriguez, so not as crazy from the arm reach perspective. But I think that Julian Erosa is also very, very dangerous when it comes down to just pure striking. So Rodriguez has to get the takedown. And what happens, AJ, when you don't get a takedown? Well, I'll tell you from experience, you get really tired. It's really tiring to not get a takedown. You take a lot of energy, especially if you add a second attempt to it. So I shoot in on a single or on a double. I can't get it, so I shoot in for the single, and then I don't got it, so I switch to shoot in for the double. I don't get it. I switch to a single. All right, I don't get that. Then I might try to switch back to a double. Then I might try to get back up and reshoot, right? I'm exhausted at this point, and we're fighting in elevation. And then I got this dude who's going to knee me and kick me and elbow me and do all of the things. So I think that for Christian Rodriguez, stay tight, if you're going to be in the pocket, stay evasive, keep your guard up, and get this fight to the ground in a sneaky way. Bait a submission out of Julian Erosa and then make it your world, because we know Juicy J will jump on a ghillie. He'll jump on the submissions when presented. And if he doesn't get it and Rodriguez can get top control, I think that he can end the fight there. However, AJ, I just gave you a very pretty, perfect, timed and tuned scenario to get the fight to where he wants to be. If he can't, how does he survive against Juicy J on the feet?
Woo, Derek, that's the tall task right here. Because if Juicy J is able to find his moments and pick his spots and then just explode with nice combos and then dip out where you can't catch him, hit you with some knees, some flying shit like this. Juicy J has a lot of aspects that make him very dangerous, but the one thing where I think Christian Rodriguez is able to come in here and maybe not nullify, but compete with those same kind of advantages is with the explosive nature he has, right? Like Rodriguez is very explosive in his attacks, hits very hard. He's able to get in on people and close that distance. That's why he's good at getting the fight to the ground. I'm not saying shoot 100 times in this fight. You're at elevation, but close that distance, get things in, beat him up a little bit, and then try and get out or cut an angle, grab up, clinch up, watch the knees. But still, there's ways in which you can control the distance and the pressure that will benefit Christian Rodriguez into this fight.
Yeah, fair assessment. We got to keep it short because we still got one more fight to cover, but I think that the easy play for me, because this is a contentious pick, not a consensus pick, Give me the live dog, man. Give me Julian Erosa. I think the man's been disrespected. He's feeling good coming off of a big victory, and I think that this is just a moment right here to see. C-Rod, you got the split decision on your last one. Can you repeat it? And if you can, now we're talking. But give me Julian Erosa. I want a pure live dog money play, plus 185. Cash that in. AJ, for you?
I'm rocking with the young dog C-Rod right here. Gonna prove it again at the, I guess not a new weight class, back again in the 145 pounds. Gonna be a hell of a fight though.
Perfect. And then this last one, let's make it a quick one. Razak Alhassan versus Cody Brundage. Folks, this is what you need to know here, man. These dudes are volatile, man. This one could end in an instant, in a blink of an eye. And Cody Brundage, he's been a company man, and he has been given many opportunities, right? You lost to Bo Nickel. You got to win against Zach Reese, which aged very well. Jacob Malkoun, you got to win right there. Kind of, he got disqualified. So not Brundage, but Malkoun did. So anyways, you lost to Cedricus Dumas, Rodolfo Vieira, and Mikhail Oleksichuk. Win over Trayshawn Gore, Dalcha Lungi, and Bula, lost to Maximov. It's been up and down, but you can see the dude is game, and he's willing to fight. And one thing that I really like about Brundage is he'll walk you down like the Diaz is, like he's in a street fight. Like, what's up? Let's scrap. Well, you better be careful against Judo Thunder because Razak Alhassan, man, massive power, fantastic judo. As we could see, he's submittable, so you don't want to be on your back if you're Alhassan, but I think that these dudes are both going to try to grapple, and I think this is actually flipped from what people think. I think that the KO is probably more likely from Brundage. The takedowns are more likely from Alhassan. So with that assessment right here, man, you have certain guys, AJ, that you stay away from. You fade inherently based off of what you've seen. For me, Cody Brundage is one of those guys. I love the character, just my pocketbook isn't always in the best shape when I bet on him. So I'm fading Cody Brundage here, but I'm also not super huge on Razak Alhassan. When you're in a lose-lose here, normally you should not bet. But again, we got a competition to play. So break this one down for me.
No, I'm with you, Derek. I love the fight style that Cody Brundage brings, the gangster he brings. I agree with you. It's very Diaz-esque, but at the same time, a lot of that fight style leads him into the situations where he has this up and down performance, right? His roller coaster career that we've seen. So as much as I adore it and I like it and respect it, I don't think it's the best for Brundage going forward, but I agree with you. The knockout on his side, if you're a Cody Brundage fan, plus 500 TKO, you smash that all day long because that is a lot more likely to happen. I expect Razak Alhassan to keep the pressure, keep trying to get this fight to the ground because he's best in a slow, or I guess not slow fight, but like a more methodical burst kind of fight, right? He'll lull you into that mess. He'll keep going. He's going to shoot something. He's keeping you guessing, and then a burst happens. And that's what Razak Alhassan's best at. But if Cody Brundage can see that and happen that, counter strikes all day long. And Cody Brundage is a very smart fighter. You just got to avoid the power in a brawl that Razak Alhassan provides.
What do you think about plus 500 submission for Brundage?
I mean, it's interesting, and I can see the takedowns happening a lot, so I can see a lot of opportunities presenting it. I'm genuinely curious how they're going to be looking, if this fight is a washing machine fight, how they're going to be looking after round one in elevation.
Fair, and that's why for me, my bet on this fight, folks, it's fight enters round two. That is my sole bet on this entire fight. And that might even be too risky right there, but we're going to run it anyway. So, folks, again, this is a preference fight right here. I prefer Alhassan slightly, but we still prefer him a little higher than Cody Brundage, so that's going to be a consensus pick right there. I don't really have anything else to add on this matchup. I just think this is going to be fun while it lasts. What do you think?
Going to be fun while it lasts. I'm excited, especially because Razak Alhassan is very animated going into this week. If he wants to keep talking that way, he needs a big win right here and a great opponent to do it against.
That's right. All right, folks, with that being said, given that we are short on time, we're not mincing any words. We're jumping into the next section, the most important section, the unknowns of today, but the stars of tomorrow, the people that you don't want to miss out on, because in a couple of years, they're going to be running the divisions, and you're going to be wondering, I wonder what things were like once they were unknown, when people didn't know about them. Well, we're about to tell you right now. All right, folks, let's jump into some sleepers, baby. Let's get it.
It's time for some fight night.
And if you ain't paying attention, you're going to sleep on me and I'm going to wake you up.
All right, folks, you heard the man. The Bobby King Green. He's no longer Bobby. AJ, I know we've been saying this for a while, but he is now officially King Green. So shout out to him, the golden voice of the sleeper section. But we have some good fights right here, and if you're a real fight fan, some of this stuff shouldn't come as a surprise to you. So, AJ, we both kind of cheated what we have here, but I want you to break yours down first, sir. Montel Jackson, Damon Blackshear. Little caveat, AJ, just to let the people know this fight came about on 11 days' notice. 11 days ago, this was announced. What do you think?
11 days ago. That's why this was announced. And I like it actually for this one because it's still in what, the 125-pound class, if I'm not mistaken.
This is 100 and this isn't 125 pounds. Sorry, this is 135 pounds. Bantam.
35, but still smaller weight class right here. But both these guys, man, why I like this. Jackson, very fast, heavy hands, Blackshear, power, man, power on power, and he's down to brawl. Short notice fight means that these fighters are going to go in with a lot of heat in the beginning, and we're not expecting a long outcome. Both of them are very well rounded with 19 combined finishes for the both of them. This one's going to be a very fun fight. I'm expecting it to happen fast, so do not blink on this one.
And let's see what the Tapology folks are saying. Oh, they like Jackson in this one right here. A lot of people are thinking decision. Interesting. Y'all didn't take elevation into account, I am imagining, right? Let's see. That's going to be my excuse for everything, but elevation, right? This is going to be a banger fight, folks, so you guys need to tune in. All right, folks, here is my sleeper right here. A little bit of a cheat again here. Everybody knows Maria Agapova. At least you should be very well acquainted at this point. Luana Santos, though, all the rage these days. Maybe not for her fight antics. Maybe it's outside of the cage, but that's not what we're here for. What we're here for, folks, is this is going to be a slugfest. Little background that I found on Maria Agapova is the fight life is it's a rough life. It's a tough life. She's a sick boxer, man. Her striking is fantastic. We've seen some woes in the grappling department. Luana Santos kind of brings the best of both worlds, excuse me. Heavy hands, some sick grappling. I'm not saying she's the best grappler in the world, but I think that she has the advantage over Agapova, though Agapova can hold her own. The thing that we've been hearing about Agapova recently is that her training situation isn't the most ideal. And without diving into personal details, which really don't matter here on this program right here, let's just say you want somebody who has a great team around them, who has a very supportive training camp, who has some of the best people that they could bring in from around the world and are training with those people. I'm not saying that that's what Luana Santos is, but we could say that's not what Agapova is at the moment from what, has been going on. So this is a sleeper though, folks, because that is making Maria Agapova, in my opinion, you're fighting for life right here. You're fighting for a paycheck so that you could support yourself and your family and whatever you got going. When you have that on, that's an intangible. We can't put that on pen and paper, right? That's something that you're just going to witness in the octagon. So let's see what Luana Santos, who's coming off of two big victories, Juliana Miller, right? Tough winner right there. And then Stephanie Egger. Two big victories. Let's see what the aftermath of that looks like. And can she hold her own against a true veteran in Maria Agapova, whose nickname is what? Am I reading this right? The Demon Slayer? When did she become the Demon Slayer, AJ?
That's the first time I heard that, Derek. Must be new.
Hey, fair play, though. And then what do you see here? Yeah, there's zero love for Maria Agapova. So let's just say, folks, I think somebody's going to eat a little crow. I think Agapova is going to make it a little more interesting for sure. That's why this is a sleeper. But I like Santos in the fight through and through. So with that being said, my friend, that is it for the prelim pour over. And we're going to make a quick switch into a news and notes section. But AJ, let's just break down one thing really quickly, directly related to what we talked about. And then we'll call it a day. We'll get up out of here. All right. So this is one thing that I just want to let you guys know. I'm going to bring it up on the big screen right now. But as you can see here, we have a little something here about Luana Santos, right? And Hashimoto's disease, which I didn't know. So Luana Santos, in her last fight against Stephanie Egger, she had a pretty massive weight miss. Like she looked like a different fighter. When I was watching tape, I was like, who is this person? Then I was like, wait, sometimes you type in somebody's name and then you're like, oh, there's someone with the same name or whatever. I was like, this got to be somebody else. No, this was her. This was truly her, man. I don't have a picture because there's no need to just kind of, talk about people's, what they look like and all that. But the point is this. She missed weight, and you're like, yo, you can't be doing that. You're trying to make a name for yourself. Let me just kind of give you a little bit of an insight here. So Hashimoto's disease, it's an autoimmune condition that can lead to weight gain, depression, fatigue, pain, all the good stuff. The doctor said, this is from Luana Santos, doctor said my weight would go up again because my thyroid gland wasn't working. The levels were way higher than it should be. Vitamins were low. I had to start taking medicine to control my thyroid. There's no cure. I'll have to take this medication forever. I went all the way to 168 pounds, 42 pounds over my division. Santos then said the UFC is aware of the condition. That's why she was offered a match in Denver with enough time to prepare to make 125 pounds again. The 24-year-old Brazilian said she currently weighs 136 on point for this moment of her camp. Thyroid's okay, but I have to continue on medication and watch the diet. Health is better. Energy's better. I didn't feel like training before. I wanted to lay in bed and do nothing. I was afraid, especially because it was something new. I didn't know if this medication would work or not, but my doctors explained to me, and that calmed me down. So literally all of that, AJ, simply just to say she has a battle ahead of her before fighting Maria Agapova, and that's the scales. And that's when you have a disease with your thyroid, which is legit. Your thyroid don't work, man. There's all the nutrition and the diet in the world, but when you literally have hormone issues, talk to me, man. I know you're well versed in this category.
Yeah, this one's a rough one, man, because especially knowing that's happening, right? You're so stressed, you're missing all this weight, you're like there's things going on in your life that you can't control, and it's in your body, so you have all this like tension going on. Luckily, though, man, she was able to get on that on the correct medication and going forward, because thyroid is a really big issue, especially in this situation where you're cutting weight and gaining it back, rehydrating, continuously working and pushing yourself to a new level. You really do need to be able to maintain a homeostasis of at least something, right? If your thyroid isn't processing the nutrients, yes, it is going to be a very hard time. So I'm happy to see that she's got it going, man. This is going to be interesting to see how Santos is able to maintain this throughout her career, because it really does come down to a lot of what you ingest in your body and what kind of stuff you're putting out, right? Like if she's continuously staying healthy and working and doing all that, you slip up a little bit, a thyroid can be a hell of a problem going into the future.
And missing weight can be a bigger problem, and that could stall your career. So again, all of it ties together, folks. This is a battle. We wish her nothing but health and wellness and all that good stuff, because nobody wants to see their career shortened due to something that is truly out of your control. But with that being said, that was our news and notes for you. So we made it to another outro, folks. This was your pre-show for UFC Denver. Everything has been covered in spades, if you will. I was going to come up with a good phrase. I lost it, AJ, but that's what the end of the show is for. So, folks, next week we got a banger on deck. We've got some accountability for the UFC Denver slate, but I'm really excited. And what I want you to do here, do us a solid, do us a favor, and let us know how our picks are working for you, how you enjoyed the program, all the fun stuff. Drop a like, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. That's the most important part. But AJ, you, as always, should take us out of here, brother. So go ahead.
Folks, Derick said it the best way you could, right? Subscribe, like, tell your friend to tell your friend. I was thinking about it before. We were talking in the sleeper sections, right? You don't want to miss these people because they're going to be the stars of tomorrow. But more importantly, you don't want to miss why we're talking about them, because they're going to make you money now going into the future, just like every pick we have right here. 5 consensus picks this week. Make sure you cash in. And like Derick said, you're winning money. And if you're watching this, I know you are. Let us know down below. We got some stuff coming for you, folks. So make sure you're subscribed. It's going to be a very fun week this week.
That's it, folks. That's it for us. Catch us next week on Friday. Until next time. Peace.